Welcome to Calgary Conversations, a podcast of the City of Calgary where we aim to have frank conversations with city leaders about the issues and topics impacting Calgarians.
Please stand behind the yellow line.
My name is Jose Rodriguez. I am the leader of Media Relations and Employee Communications at the city, and I'm happy to be your host. Welcome back to Calgary Conversations, a podcast of the City of Calgary. As always, we value your feedback, so please get a hold of us at calgaryconversations@calgary.ca. For today's show, I'm pretty excited. We get to talk about downtown revitalization, downtown rebuilding, and we have a couple of special guests today. We have Tom Mahler with the City of Calgary Downtown Strategies team, our director there, and we have our CEO and president of the Calgary Municipal Land Corporation, Kate Thompson. Welcome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
You two have a very important role when it comes to city building, and each of your roles is different, yet we're going towards one goal. Maybe we can talk about your specific part in building the future of our city. We'll start with Tom.
So the way I would classify my role in downtown is that I'm an enabler within city administration representing our city council. Our city council has decided that downtown revitalization is a key priority of council and by extension our citizenry to do whatever we can to get our downtown really vibrant coming out of not only the energy downturn of 2014 but also coming out of the pandemic. And so I'm here to represent council's image and vision for downtown and to work cross corporate within the City of Calgary organization but also with all of our external partners to do what we can to have the most vital and vibrant downtown we can.
And Kate, that triggers your work.
Absolutely. I mean, council decided in 2007 that the East Village needed a different take. And so out of that was born Calgary Municipal Land Corporation. So we've been operating for about 17 years. And our first focus was, what can we do with downtown with East Village? And so we started with East Village, and you can see the fruits of the labor there. You know, we started with Riverwalk, get people into the area, lots of public art, lots of rework in terms of landscaping, everything else. And then it started to grow into the Culture and Entertainment District, started to build some of Calgary's landmarks, the new Central Library, and now just opened the BMO Convention Centre expansion. So it was all born out of this idea of how do you attract people and bring vibrancy back. And so, yeah, you know, listening to Tom talk, it's all connected in terms of the approach to rethinking our downtown.
Vibrancy is an interesting word because I think it's maybe different for different people. My own example, when I'm at a city that I've never been to before, I like to get out of my hotel and walk. Just walk around and take a look at the coffee shops, the public art, just what makes this place neat. Is that kind of how you vision going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I'm looking at vibrancy and when CMLC is looking at it, we talk about it with people. You know, do people have a reason to come down, and are they exploring and engaging in their city? And that creates in and of itself vibrancy. And so it gives to what you're talking about. You know, walks in an urban center can be really long or feel very short, and it's all, I think, dependent on vibrancy. We've all been to the cities that are excellent, and you don't even know that you've walked for half an hour, and then you've been through some areas that feel like they take forever, and it's been a 10-minute walk. And it's that vibrant, is there something to see? Is there great retail? Are there great coffee shops? Is there some cool public art? Is there something happening on the street that makes that walk enjoyable?
Tom, what about you? What's vibrancy mean to you?
Well, I like the way you started off by saying, you know, vibrancy looks different for different people. And so if I was going to define vibrancy, is that Calgary in all its diversity, as well as tourists and visitors to our city, all can find something to do of interest to them downtown, whether that's living downtown, whether that's shopping downtown, going to a convention, whether going to an event. But the more of those things that you have going on and the more diversity of people that you have downtown, you have older people, you have young people, you have different ethnic groups, Calgary in all its diversity. And then when somebody comes downtown or visits our downtown, they go, oh, there's a lot going on here. I feel part of this because it's so diverse. And I think it's really a a reaction to what our city was, which was a real monoculture of office workers. When we started doing the downtown plan, a lot of young Calgarians would say, downtown is where my mom and dad work. They had never been downtown. People also ask me, well, what does success look like? Success looks like a teenager in suburban Calgary coming downtown and just feeling it, this is my, I belong here. There's something for me to do. So that's how I would categorize vibrancy for the average Calgarian.
So you did mention living downtown. It's hard to it's hard to have a conversation with you, Tom, without talking about the office to residential conversion, which has been featured, I think, everything from the Wall Street Journal to papers overseas, a real success story. Can you just, in a nutshell, encapsulate what that program is for us?
Yeah, the office conversion program really stemmed from the fact that we had a surplus amount of office. We had about a 32% vacancy rate, and our objective was to bring that vacancy rate down. And so we talked about if we could remove 6 million square feet, let's start with that. That would bring vacancy rates down enough that it would start to return property values to some sense of normalcy and start to pick back up. So the program was, what uses could we do in those spaces? And office to residential was one that was very popular because it provided these other revitalization benefits. And that was really the genesis of it. It was to remove office and find a vibrant use that could replace that office space. I mean, it's a really interesting program because it started off being less about residential and more about being, we have too much office. So at early stages, we talked about demolition, we talked about converting it to hotels, urban agriculture, mini storage. And then what changed for us was really when we got a number that worked in the conversion program, the $75 per square foot, and it became something that people could latch onto. The other thing that happened was residential demand grew in our city. Our city started to grow again, and it's really changed the nature of what that program was, and it really became a focus of residential. And so that's where it's gone. The demand for residential far exceeds our supply. So the more we could bring those projects on, the quicker they could actually deliver units to the market. It takes less time to convert an office building than it does to build a new, say, multi-residential development from the ground up. And so that's really been its success. The other success is that it's brought with it more people. And it brings people into parts of our downtown that were largely office-oriented. And now we've had the first people starting moving into the first project. And you will see over the next few years, you'll start to see a change at street level of who's living in the neighborhood.
I think we've had 13 happen so far that have been funded.
We have 11 that are currently either...
See, don't let me do math. Don't ever let me do math.
I can get you the exact numbers, but yeah, it's there's actually 11 that have been approved under our program. There was a couple of other projects that happened outside of the program, which included the Barron Building and the Neoma, the home space, which was our first office conversion in the downtown core of Calgary. So we sometimes include those. But overall, if we look at our pipeline of projects that we have under our current funding, is we're hoping to get almost 2,300 units of residential within the downtown core.
And by when would that happen?
Well, it depends on when the builders come through, but it would certainly be in the next 3 to 4 years.
Nice. And some exciting stuff in your world, Kate. You talked about the BMO Center, the entertainment district, and all of that. All that will encompass. In the middle of that is also the event center. What is it going to look like 10 years from now if I go walking down what is it called Olympic Way?
Stampede Trail. It was 4th Street, it was Olympic Way, and now Stampede Trail.
Stampede Trail. If I walk down Stampede Trail, am I going to recognize it 10 years from now?
Well, what's really interesting is when we were doing the opening a couple weeks ago for the BMO Center, people who know Calgary and have been to Stampede for years and have lived here or even come down to that area about 5 years ago, it looks completely different today. And add another 5 years and it will look completely different again. And so in city building terms, that's crazy. That's really, really fast turnaround of a multi-acre site and multiple sites to have it be pretty much unrecognizable. So when you're looking at pictures of what the BMO Center looked like before, you have the Plus 15 with the yellow awning, and you have the corral, and then you have, do it before and after, you have the convention center that's there today, and it's not anything like it was. And then you add in and layer in all the infrastructure, the 17th Avenue extension, the new LRT, and Stampede Trail now to connect. You're right, in about 5 years' time, when you're standing and walking through that district, it's not going to feel like it did in 2020 at all.
So as you were mentioning, with these new builds also comes new infrastructure. So for somebody who's taking a look at, for instance, the LRT station right there by the new convention center, what other sort of goodies do we get around the things we're building?
Right. I mean, you can't just build it like that. You can't just build the goodies, or we talk about them about these anchors. It's not just about the anchors. The connective pieces have to work. You have to be able to walk, cycle, bike, take a train, park, move around the areas for these buildings to work and these anchors. So the convention center is really a massive project. It's a 1 million square foot building, but I would say that the infrastructure around it might be more impactful. And it's hard to say when you stand at the base of the convention center and look up and see kind of its scale. But that 17th Avenue extension, bringing downtown into Stampede Park, having people walk at grade, that was the original entry gate for Stampede up until the 80s when the Red Line was put there. And now it's kind of re-establishing that connection. And it's really going to change how people move around a city. And Calgarians probably remember what it felt like when the 4th Street underpass went in, which kind of reconnected East Village to north-south, and then all of the other infrastructure around there. I think this will be the same, if not bigger, type of impact. And along with that infrastructure that you talked about, the LRT, the new LRT station, it's not only new, it's completely redone in terms of how you access it at grade from the sidewalk. There's no longer that spiral staircase on the other side of McLeod that people would remember. And you'll just move differently and interact with the whole part of downtown differently.
And with the event center would come more of those infrastructure upgrades.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been under construction for about 4 years on the BMO Center and all the surrounding infrastructure. And now the event center will be starting their construction for a few years' time, and all the infrastructure in and around there to support it. So all the confusion and all the construction in and around is going to carry on. But at the end, when it's all built, you'll start being able to access. I think one thing to note is that we were trying to look, when CMLC was building a lot of the infrastructure around that area, we're trying to look, is there a comparison precedent project in North America that has this much construction happening with an active and open area? Because there's, the Saddle Dome is open, it hosts all the games. The BMO was open through construction, all the grads, all the conventions. So we had to do the construction, we had to make change, but we had to do it with all of these people coming in and out. And we struggled actually to find a precedent of that scale. And we joked about it kind of like building an Olympic village while hosting an Olympics. And also pausing for the greatest outdoor show on earth every construction season. So it's a really dynamic, fluid area to build in, but really, really important.
Now, before we got on air here, I was talking to both of you about just how cool your jobs are. You've got a Lego set, right?
Totally,
like
I
the world's
love Lego.
greatest Lego set.
It's true.
and so, if you could talk a little bit about, how cool it is to help shape the city of the future.
Well, from my perspective, she has the Lego set, which I think is pretty
What do you
exciting.
have,
But
Tom?
I have
I let him borrow it.
I have maybe I have the Hollywood squares. I have people, right? I have a network of amazing people who are passionate about our downtown being great. That includes people that live downtown, but it also includes a lot of our major civic partners. So we have Arts Commons, we have the Glenbow Museum, we have Contemporary Calgary, we have the library, we have the convention center, the TELUS Convention Center. We have our own services, Calgary Transit, Calgary Parks. And you bring all those people together, and there's very rarely a time when people don't get excited and aren't passionate about getting there. And I think one of the reasons that we're so successful right now is people can see the momentum of the city. Mm-hmm. If you were to ask us, I used to do this in 2003 when things weren't really moving. It was a lot more negative. People were more cynical. This isn't going to happen. That's all changed because we've had success. And credit to CMLC and the work they've done in East Village is showing you can take a very challenged area and you can make it something really special. And people believe in themselves as a community. And that's what makes my job exciting, because I get to talk to all these people, and they share their visions and they share their excitement. And my role is to just kind of try and pull people together, and periodically we go to our city council and we go to other orders of government and share that vision, and try and get some support so that we can keep doing the work that we're doing.
I can't believe I just heard that things were more negative prior to social media taking off. That's
Well, maybe in a smaller circle. Maybe in a smaller circle. Yeah, I think that's hugely important for cities. I listen to this podcast called The DNA of Cities, and it talks about cities' endowed traits, sort of physical endowed traits, but also the inherited traits and the, not to use a big word, but the epigenetic traits of a city. And Calgary has a very specific one, and that is its sense of volunteerism and its sense of community. This has been proven out many times when the city did brand work, that is a thing. It is actually a thing. People come to Calgary from other cities and they go, wow, like you guys really get along. You guys really work together. We could never do that here. And that's infectious. It's infectious when you have your Chamber of Commerce sitting with your social enterprises and they're saying the same things. And we're having results. And so I think that's what Calgarians should be really excited about, is you're living and growing up in a city now that has definitely found its groove, I would say, for this next generation of what we can be. And that's, makes my job super exciting.
Yeah, and carried forward its values, as you just mentioned.
Exactly.
So Kate, tell us about your Lego set.
My Lego set. Well, I've always loved Lego.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. We were talking. I feel like I have one of the best jobs, and I feel very fortunate to be doing what I get to do in the city, and to be able to have the impact that you have. You don't often have that ability in a role or a job where you can affect one thing, but this feels bigger, that we can start really shaping our city in a meaningful way. And I always think it's a great proof point when you talk to people and they say, oh yeah, I brought my aunt or uncle who are visiting down to East Village. And that kind of, my whole team kind of gets a sense of pride out of that, because we know that we got to try something different and prove it out and make mistakes too. There's always mistakes that are happening. Everybody makes mistakes, but learn from them and improve them and kind of raise the bar. And one of my greatest parts of my Lego set is probably when I stick now. Now it's going to be, that's great. I'm in. But just watching groups of students walk through the library and just see them, they're goofing off. They're not really listening to their teacher, but they're all kind of looking up and they're looking around. And what the power of normalizing great design in young minds feels very cool. It feels like a privilege, not only kind of on a city shaping scale, but that they all think that's absolutely what a library should look like. And that they've been exposed to something like that in our city just raises the level for everyone in terms of what they expect and kind of how they act in a space. And it's pretty special to watch.
It is. And the library is absolutely beautiful,
It is.
as we all know.
The team did an amazing job.
If I could just pick up a bit on that too, because one of the people I neglected to mention in my network of great people is our private real estate sector. And I think one of the things that we've seen change in the last 20 years is their desire to deliver great product. And so the more the city is invested in our public infrastructure, the more they're inclined to say, well, we want to be part of that. And so we're seeing that level of quality and that the desire to be a part of the network. It's not just I do my project and I get out, it's I want to be part of this this network of great things that are happening. And that just kind of feeds on itself. And people's expectations when they come downtown is now you're going to see some cool new stuff. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing that's really exciting. It's not just what the city and our government partners are doing, it's also what the private sector is doing.
Yeah, we're all building and pushing each other together. Yeah, and that's when the ecosystem's working.
Exactly.
That everyone's kind of saying the city's worth it and it's worth it to invest in. And that's what I hear from a lot of outside developers who come to our city, especially if they've come 5 years ago and they've come now. They said, oh, you guys are really investing in yourselves in a meaningful way consistently and publicly and privately. So you see it. You see it
and that
in
makes
action.
them want to invest in us.
Exactly.
Right? So
yeah.
One of the things that it's coming up on your plate is Olympic Plaza.
You bet.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I often describe as kind of our living room of our city and the heart. And so no expectations there. Everyone's living room looks different and everyone has a different expectation.
I'm old enough to remember standing in Olympic Plaza when they had the lasers from the roofs and they
Yes.
actually presented
The
the
medal
medals,
ceremony.
the medal ceremonies.
There's so many people who've told us great stories like that. Like they're like, that was the first time I was out as a teen alone
Well,
and got
I
to
took
walk
the
into the
C train
city. Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. And so it was seminal in a lot of people's history and minds about how they use the city. And that's a big responsibility for us when we're looking at it. But the nice thing is that people are sharing those stories and wanting to talk to us about how they use it today, how they either went down with the laser time and experienced it.
Lasers were a big deal back
Big
then.
deal,
Let me tell
big
you,
deal.
That
It's
was
kind of the
1988.
LEDs of 88.
Still are.
Yeah, still like a good laser. So, you know, the question is, what do you do with that space, and how do you honor that legacy, understand the use, and understand also when you're designing in 2024, how do you design for 2054 and make sure that it's still relevant and usable? And that's a big challenge, but the team is excellent. I've seen some early ideas of the design, and I think they're trying to incorporate all of that feedback, all of that nostalgia, all of that actual functional use. It can't just be a pretty place. It's got to be a really functional, hardworking space for many different users, and also inspire a little bit of wonder and delight. And that's kind of, you know, what we've been able to do in all of our projects, a little bit of surprise, a little bit of curiosity, and making people, you know, we're talking about vibrancy. How do you attract people to come down? What is there to see? And what's interesting, we have a great team working on it, looking at the programming too, not just the physical attributes. What do the pavers look like, and what do the edges look like? But how does it work when it's busy and, you know, really hard functioning, thousands of people down there? And then how does it work on just a normal Tuesday afternoon? And so if we can crack that code and help understand the success in both of those modes, I think we'll have done something great for our city.
And it's also incorporated into the Arts Commons expansion because it's
Yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
like goes right around it, right?
Yeah, so Arts Commons, we just released the design this spring on the first phase, which is the 1,000-seat theater and a 200-seat studio theater. And it's been really important. We wanted both teams to be working in design at the same time so they can start influencing each other and start kind of saying, what about this? And have you thought of this? And what about this edge? Because if it was just one building just kind of landing on Olympic Plaza, not interacting, I think we wouldn't be as successful.
This is just a simpleton take on this because I'm not a designer or architect or anything like that. But it seems to me what you're telling me is that you want to draw a string and connect all of these different parts of the city into one experience. Is that kind
it's
of
a great
correct?
analogy. Yeah, it's these nodes, and how do you connect between the nodes? It's that great walk in a great city. You know, what are the streetscapes like? What are the places in between? Because they're as important kind of as the building itself or as the final node. And then you should be able to see, you know, thinking of Arts Commons and Olympic Plaza, you look down the street and you see Glenbow and you're like, what's that? That looks great. And then what's further down and what can I see and where can I go? That's a great city that has many things to offer. A variety
So it's a
of people.
feeling. Is it a feeling,
Well,
Tom?
it's a feeling, and I was thinking as Kate was talking, like one of the things that makes cities great is that the public infrastructure and the public spaces that are free to attend they give a sense of dignity and a sense of belonging to everybody in the city, and that includes everybody who's currently downtown and everybody we hope to attract downtown. And so those investments in our public spaces, like our streets, like our parks, that just helps connect together what are maybe more private or more purpose-driven things like a museum or an office building. But having said that, one of the other themes that you see is in the nature of programming of some of our partners includes this element of free. The Glenbow Museum is making a big portion of their programming free. The whole idea behind Olympic Plaza is that there's going to be free events, not just a park where you can come and sit, which it will be that, but also there will be programming there that a citizen can come to experience. And that to me is the ultimate success, because if I don't have a lot of money, even as a tourist or as a resident, there's still a lot of places where I can gain a sense of belonging, and they're beautiful spaces to be in. And I think our downtown, I'll be blunt, it suffered from that. We had lots of spaces that were not pleasant to be in. And over time, we've invested, and our city's done a really good job from some of our 7th Avenue refurbishment of our LRT stations. They've all created a sense of dignity and a sense of belonging for Calgarians. that's a tall order for designers to do, our infrastructure teams and Kate's teams, but I think we're getting there. It's becoming a part of what we think about, and it just becomes second nature to what we do.
Very cool. Now, we talked about a little bit about your funding and where it comes from. CRLs, Community Revitalization Levies.
Well done. Good job.
Right?
Yes.
That is that's how we funded the East Village back in 2007 up until, is the levy still there on?
Absolutely.
It
Till
is.
2047.
Till 2047. Maybe you can explain how that funding works to build these big mega projects.
Yeah, so you're right. It started in 2007, and just the Coles notes of Community Revitalization Levy, which is CRL, which is based on a tax increment financing, which is used widely in the States, TIF. But of course, when it came to Alberta, the word tax didn't want to be included, so we don't say it. So it's a CRL, and it's been established in the Rivers District. It's a 504-acre area on the east side of downtown. That's the area CMLC oversees. That includes Calgary Stampede area, culture and entertainment area, and East Village. And what was the decision in 2007 was to freeze the taxes that went to, at that time, to the municipal government and the provincial government, freeze them at the 2007 level. And then CMLC's role and job was to borrow against future increase of property value that we could attract and through our changes, reinvest it into the district and start building out the district. So what we've been able to do, because the value of the land was fairly low when we started, and because we started in 2007 and we've seen an increase in that value, is we've been able to conservatively estimate what we'll be getting at the end of a 40-year period and take those funds and reinvest them into some of these projects. So that's a lot to digest, but that's the essence of the CRL.
I thought that was a great explanation. For a guy who struggles with math, that was a great explanation.
Well, thanks. So that 2047 period, we were actually originally a 20-year period, and we were extended for another 20 years. And the bulk of that extension was to go to the $333 million going into the BMO Centre expansion. But what we were also able to do was put money into 165 into the Arts Commons project and a few other of the infrastructure pieces around the area. So a really interesting tool for cities to use in revitalizing areas that wouldn't otherwise be revitalized. And the idea behind it is take land that's not really doing much for you. 2007, the city and the province weren't making a lot of money from East Village and the surrounding areas, and lay in this mechanism, this funding mechanism, to bring about change, to remove barriers, allow developers to say, oh, well, you've raised the roads, you've cleaned up the environmental contamination, now we're going to invest. So in the last few years, we've invested over $400 million in the area, and we've attracted over $3.3 billion in private investments. So taking land that would have just kind of taken a steady state for years and really catalyzed it.
Wow, and I love that, and it leads me right to Tom, because I think on the office conversion, it's a $3 for every dollar we put in. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah. So far, it's about a 3-to-1 ratio. So when the city invests in those projects, you get a 3-time private investment. So that is investment that wouldn't have happened in our downtown core without that initial incentive.
It's a similar kind of underpinning of removing barriers so people invest their own money.
And I wanted to, I don't know if you're going to ask the question later on, but one of the things that was so important to the notion of tax increment financing was that cities recognize they have an asset that's undervalued, that they believe with some government investment they can increase the value of that asset. And why that's important for every Calgarian is because we can provide, our level of service that we provide across the city is dependent on the revenue sources that we have. Downtowns have the biggest taxpayers tend to be the corporate interests. And so when the oil price dropped in 2014, we lost, our total number is $16 billion in value. And what that meant was to provide the same level of service to Calgarians, or be your grass mowing in your neighborhood or the frequency of garbage pickup, whatever it might be. Landfill hours, another good one I like to throw around. It depends on good valuation in the downtown core, so we don't have to increase taxes elsewhere. And that proposition, when a city that was as blessed as Calgary to have a high value downtown, which we did, Now investing in ourselves, we're seeing that actually makes total sense because the private sector believes that too. And so that strategy has been proven out through the Rivers District, and we continue to carry it on through now the rest of the downtown as well.
And it only works, sorry, just jump in. It only works when that public-private combination is happening. If it's just public, then and you're waiting for private, it's when the public does enough to incent the private to say, oh, I see it, I see the value. And then they start running with it, and that's success. We can step backwards if we need to.
And when it comes to offices, like we were blessed with the oil and gas industry that was quite happy to pay high lease rates for their office space. When you lose that kind of a tenant, now you have to make your downtown attractive to everybody else to pay more rent. And so that's the other thing we're watching, right, is the more we invest in ourselves, people want to be downtown. Businesses see it as a great place to have employees, to grow their business. They pay more for rent as vacancies go down and our values go up. And then as that value goes up, that benefits Calgarians across the city.
Kate, we're a pretty young city. How does that factor into everything that's happening here in Calgary?
The only thing I think for Calgary in its story is we're really young. And I think we're a really young city in comparison to cities out east in Canada or even Europe or others. So I think if we're a little less hard on ourselves and a little bit more celebratory about what we have been able to do over our short history, if we've done this much today, I just can only imagine what the ingenuity of this group of people is going to carry out in the future. And really, really an exciting time to be in such a young city.
Now, I know this is neither of your departments, but we do have a resurgence of businesses coming back to downtown in the form of the tech sector. What role does that play in some of the work that you're doing, Tom?
Well, for us, our strategy actually started when we started working on this back in 2017, I think it was. It was actually Calgary Economic Development that stepped up to the plate and said, downtown is important for our economy. At the time, I remember having many discussions about, how do we create a tech ecosystem within downtown Calgary? And that just kind of, over the years, that's just become a closer relationship. And so it's a great gauge for our success when we see success in these, and I won't just say tech, I'll just say in emerging industries, whether they're cultural industries or whether they're more digital-based industries. That's a great measure of success, that you're not just serving the legacy industry. Although we still do that too, because it feeds off each other. But I think that's where it does feed into what I do, is those amenities and those services and the level of safety, the level of cleanliness in the downtown, it all helps support a city trying to pivot its economy from one thing to another. And we're competing with cities, typically tech industries are located in cities with very high quality of life. And so that's who you're competing against. And so it's a very symbiotic relationship between our downtown revitalization and our overall community economic strategy.
Very cool. So it's 2034. The three of us are taking a walk through downtown. What's the biggest difference that you feel, or the experience you're sensing, knowing what you know?
I think you're going to want to do it again and again. If everything is going the way and the trajectory is what we're doing today, it's an exciting place that you can't just go once. And that's a city that if you just go once and then never come back down, then Tom and I haven't done our job.
Well, you probably missed something.
We've missed something. We've
Not
done
you,
something.
the person walking.
We can take it personally. We can go for coffee in 10 years and say we missed something. But I think if we've done it right, there's vibrancy, and that kind of big open global word, but it's coffee shops. It's weird. Maybe I like it, maybe I don't, but public art that you want to look at and you want to kind of get closer and see if you understand it. And there's something to do. There's either that free concert, there's a great art gallery to jump into, there's something for everyone. And it doesn't feel like it's going to all be, Cinderella done at midnight or at 5 p.m. in Calgary, which it used to be, there's a life after 5 p.m. That's when it's going to be really exciting it's somewhere you want to be, and it's worthwhile going.
Yeah, and my benchmark
Tom, what are you feeling?
Yeah, no, it's very well said. Like a lot of people, I'll use sort of a point of reference from a former office employee who worked in downtown Calgary their whole career. Often they retire and they never come back downtown. They move to Kelowna, or they get a place outside of Calgary, and they don't frequent. And this is a very common story that I hear. What will change is people in 2034, people will come back to do things in downtown Calgary. They won't just be coming back to see family and friends and to go to the mountains. The downtown experience will be part of that trip. And I think that will be when we're successful. And I'll come back to the vibrancy piece. There will be enough things to do for every type of person that lives in Calgary or that travels to Calgary. And that creates that energy 24/7.
Very cool. Well, I'm going to take in a concert at the event center. The next day, I'm taking a Flames game. Then I'm going to go walk downtown, grab a couple pints at a different place, because I could probably pick a different one.
Come to Olympic Plaza. It's going to be amazing.
There you go. So as we wrap this up, any final thoughts, Kate?
I came out here in '99. I'm from Winnipeg. Tom and I are both from Winnipeg.
So is my wife.
There you go. Good people from Winnipeg.
Good people.
But I wasn't too sure about the city, in specific it's downtown. It didn't really have that kind of feel that is somewhere that I'd wanted to be. And now it does. It definitely has that little unknown quality of there's something happening here. And to be a part of it has been amazing. Really, really a cool opportunity.
And excitement.
Very exciting, yeah.
Nice. Tough.
The other thing I would add is that there's our geographic greater downtown boundary that I deal with, which is really the office, kind of the office core north of the tracks and Beltline south. But the other thing that makes downtown really vibrant is when the neighborhoods in and around downtown really start to interact with it. And I think you see that now with Inglewood, Ramsey, Bridgeland, Kensington, hopefully one day Sonalta and West Village. As you kind of grow that, it just becomes so much more diverse with more activity. And I really, you can probably tell in a couple of answers I've given, it's not just about the downtown. It's about the experience that the downtown plays in everybody's life and daily life. And I think providing that destination, whether you're kind of commuting through the downtown, through train, or through scooters along the river path, whatever that is, it becomes part of people's everyday experience. And that they can't quite put their finger on it, but they feel really good coming downtown.
Very cool stuff. Thank you very much for spending some time with me.
You bet. Thank you. This is fun.
Great conversation. Thanks, Jose.
Thank you for joining us today. As always, we value your feedback, so please reach out to us at calgaryconversations@calgary.ca and tell us what topics you'd like covered and questions you'd like answered. Until next time, be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other, and if you see someone without a smile today, give them yours. Take care.